I know it seems crazy as we're in the middle of the second round of the playoffs, but the NBA draft lottery is next week. We are going to have the official order for the draft, so today I want to simulate it to give you an idea of just how crazy things could get. This kind of video is super fun for me. If you guys want to see me do another one, let's aim for 2,000 likes in the first day of this video, and I'll bring it to you. With all that being said, let's get into this. For this video, I think we should start with just 3 simulations, so no BS. These were my first 3 clicks of Tankathon's lottery simulator. Now for a quick overview of the odds, something that's a little confusing and I didn't realize for years is teams in the mid or bottom of the lottery are either going to jump up inside the top 4 or they're going to stay where they are, give or take a few spots if someone behind them jumps up. So for example, the Kings have the 9th best odds. They're either going to get lucky, jump inside the top 4, or they're going to be at 9, possibly 10 if one of the 5 teams below them jumps up. This is why, if you've watched the lottery before, that they talk about teams that have already gotten inside the top 4 when they've only called out like the 10th pick. I know it's a little confusing, but I think it'll become a lot more clear later in the video. On the screen right now is the current odds going into the lottery. The Rockets, Magic, and Pistons are all tied for the best odds of the number 1 pick. They're guaranteed a top 7 selection and have a 52% chance at being inside the top 4 and a 14% chance at landing the top pick. Just barely behind them is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're sitting with just over a 48% chance of getting inside the top 4 and a 12.8% chance at the top pick. As you can see after that, it slowly descends, with Indiana, Portland, Sacramento, New Orleans, San Antonio, Washington, New York, OKC, Charlotte, and Cleveland. But by the time you get to a team like Cleveland, they have just a 2.4% chance at making it in the top 4 and a less than 1% chance at the top pick, but we've seen it before, so don't count anyone out. Today's video is sponsored by PrizePicks, a super simple to use player prop site legal in most US states. You just choose over or under for up to 10 times your entry. I've had a ton of fun lately making entries with my friends, making the playoffs just a tiny bit more exciting than it already is. I really like today's entry. I'm staying away from this Philly game. Without Embiid, it's just tough to predict. I'm going to go with Luka Doncic over on points. He just seems impossible to stop right now. I don't really care where the line is, but in this case, it's 32.5. I'm taking the over on Chris Paul's assist only at 8.5, pairing that with over Cam Johnson 1.5 made threes. Then lastly, I'm throwing in Bobby Portis over on rebounds for Saturday's game, as it just feels like a lock, with him going over 4 of the last 5 games with ease. There it is, the over for 10 times my entry. If you guys want to play along or make your own entry, go to link in the description or use code Jimmer, and we've got a pretty awesome promo for you. After your first deposit, if you do at least a $5 entry and Chris Paul scores at least 1 point in the remainder of this series, you're going to get $50 in promo money. Pretty awesome. Thank you PrizePicks for sponsoring today's video. Now with my first press of the simulator, I was pleasantly surprised by a super exciting one. The number 1 pick is going to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Not a huge jump, but a very exciting team to land this top pick, just given the different directions they could go and just how many draft picks they have, not only in this draft, but in the future. With the Thunder's only untouchable pieces being in their backcourt, they could really go with any of these top 3, that being Jabari Smith, Chet Holmgren, and Paolo Banchero. Now as a Thunder fan, I would definitely have a preference here, but taking the bias out, I would assume they're going with the current Las Vegas favorite to be the number 1 pick, Jabari Smith out of Auburn. A really interesting addition with the upside he has to really be the face of this franchise, and I don't think there's a question, his elite shooting from outside would just make Josh Giddey and SGA look like even better playmakers than they already are. Now the Thunder landing there wasn't too much of a shocker, but with the 2nd overall pick, we've got the Charlotte Hornets. Man, would I love to see this. Since the addition of LaMelo Ball, objectively, this Hornets team has been one of the funnest teams to watch in the entire league, but they've been touching a tough territory, especially for a small market like Charlotte. They're competing for playoff spots, as they've been in the play-in and back-to-back seasons, but they're far from serious contenders. Barring a crazy free agency move, it's going to be tough for that to change, unless obviously something crazy like this happens. The Hornets jump up 11 spots, I don't think there's a question who they take, they go with Chet Holmgren. All the talk with the Hornets roster is they need a center. We've seen all the rumors with guys like Miles Turner. Well, how perfect would it be that they get a 7-foot elite rim protector and 3-point shooter that some argue has a chance to be a perennial 20+ a game scorer? Man, would this one be fun. The 3rd overall pick is the Orlando Magic, and whoever's here at 3, while there's a chance I could consider a guy like Jaden Ivey, I really think odds are they're just going to be taking who's ever left of the top 3. In this case, it's Paolo Banchero. Obviously not a seamless fit with guys like Franz Wagner and Jonathan Isaac on this roster, but if there's something we should always remember when it comes to the draft based on what we've seen looking back at history, it's to never, especially at the top of the draft, pass on talent for fit. Now, it's rare you see 2 teams take a big jump into the top 4, but that's exactly what we have in this first simulation. The San Antonio Spurs jump up 5 spots to the 4th overall pick in the draft. Now, there's a couple routes they could go, but we should expect them to go with Purdue shooting guard Jaden Ivey. This is a prospect I would love to replace one of the top 3 guys with. I just can't due to the consensus. But man, do I love him as a prospect. I haven't seen someone, especially that's not getting too much attention, with this good of a risk to reward profile. He's a 6'4" guard with nearly a 7-foot wingspan. He's probably the most explosive player in this draft, and he was getting attention last year, putting up atrocious efficiency due to his defense and upside. Then he comes out this season, and he's one of the best players in the country, averaging 17, 5, and 4, shooting with super solid efficiency. It doesn't take you long watching him to realize just how insane his upside really is. Him going to the Spurs seems like a lot of fun. With DeJounte Murray's growth as a scorer over the last few seasons, this could be one of the scariest backcourts in the league, just considering what they can do on both sides of the ball. For this video, I really want to highlight the big movers in a couple simulations. Let me know in the comments if you want to see me just do one simulation where I go through every pick, but after the top 4, everyone just drops accordingly based on where they are before the lottery, so it doesn't make sense to go over that again and again. Before doing this video, I was kind of nervous that we were going to get some boring simulations, but man, was that not the case. In our second simulation, the number 1 pick ended up in the hands of the Detroit Pistons. Now this is very interesting for a couple reasons. First being the fact that they had the number 1 pick just a year ago, where they got Cade Cunningham, who all signs point to being the face of this franchise for a very long time. Now I feel like a lot of people would have Chet going here, but considering the odds and the fact that I think the Pistons would be looking for a little bit more upside, I don't think that's a route they would go. I think this is one of the few teams where I can actually see Paolo going number 1, but keeping it safe, I've got them going with Jabari Smith. Man, would Cade, Saddiq Bey, and Jabari Smith be a great foundation for a young team. All super well-rounded guys with great size, can shoot the ball and play on both ends. Now in the event that the Pistons actually got one of these top forwards, this is practically going to guarantee that Jeremy Grant is out the door very soon, which is just going to add to the interesting pool of trade candidates this offseason. With the number 2 pick, I know some of you guys are going to love to see this. We've got the New York Knicks jumping up 9 spots. Oh boy, would this have Twitter going crazy. Now who would they go with here? Paolo or Chet? Ultimately, I think you would have to favor Chet, given the current roster and the fact that there's just such fewer top bigs in this league, making it harder for the Knicks to take advantage of their free agency destination status to address it. I think given what we saw from the Knicks just a season ago, if this were to happen, assuming Randall can get back on track and RJ takes another jump, which everyone is expecting, man, would this scenario be a ton of fun. With the 3rd overall pick, we've got another riser, and that's the Pacers jumping up 2 spots. Here, it's going to come down to Paolo or Jaden Ivey. Now, roster-wise, it seems like Paolo is the no-brainer, which it might be. But considering all the trade rumors surrounding both Malcolm Brogdon and Buddy Hield, I feel like it'd be hard for the Pacers not to be enticed by a Halliburton-Ivey backcourt. But ultimately, they play it safe, they go with Banchero. If this were to happen, we would really need to give props to this Pacers front office. At the trade deadline, they sent the Kings Domantas Sabonis, who was past his rookie contract. In return, they got a package headlined by a young emerging star in Tyrese Halliburton, who is in just his 2nd year in the league. Then in this scenario, they replace Sabonis with someone who, while unproven, clearly has franchise-altering upside. At 4, we've got the New Orleans Pelicans, and this one's gonna hurt Lakers fans, as that's where this selection is coming from. Here the Pelicans don't even have to think about it, their selection's made for them. They're going with Jaden Ivey. After what the Pelicans were able to do this season without Zion Williamson, the fact that the rest of this roster is locked up for at least 2 seasons, and Zion's coming back, you add a player like Ivey to the mix, and there's a real chance that the Pelicans are a threat in the Western Conference. For our 3rd simulation, it was a little bit more in line. The Orlando Magic land the top pick, and I really think they would be going with Chet. We forget about this sometimes, but eventually, Jonathan Isaac is coming back. If he's a player we remember, between him, Franz, and Chet, this would be one of the scariest trios to run up against in the entire league, considering their size and versatility on the defensive end. There would still be some serious question marks outside of them, but I would like this scenario. The 2nd overall pick belongs to the Blazers. They go with Jabari Smith, with Lillard back and the emergence of Anthony Simons. If Smith lives up to the hype, this would be an interesting team. At 3, we've got the Houston Rockets. In the first 2 simulations, they got a really bad luck of the draw, but here, they are happy to form one of the most exciting young duos of Jalen Green and Paolo Banchero. At 4, we've got the Thunder, but this is a little bit more interesting than it appears at first glance. This pick is not coming from them. This is a Clippers selection, jumping up 8 spots, which are owed from the Paul George trade. They go with Ivy. The fit isn't perfect on paper, with SGA and Giddey right now, but the Thunder have to be going talent over anything. So in this simulation, not only do they have the 4th pick, but they have their personal pick 2 spots later at 6. They'd be walking away with Ivy, as well as someone like Keegan Murray, AJ Griffin, or Shaedon Sharpe. Crazy, but it could be even crazier. There is a scenario where the Thunder have the 1st overall and 2nd overall picks in this draft. something we see as a possibility year after year, and one of these days, I just want to see it happen, and as a Thunder fan, please let it be this year. That's the end video, guys. I really want to do another simulation or multiple simulations. Please tell me your thoughts in the comments below on the format. What do you want to see me do different? Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.